your host, Josh Reeves.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another live edition of the Global Reality right here on the Global Reality Radio Network. I'm your host, Josh Reeves. This is the Monday, August the 3rd, 2015 edition of the broadcast. Thank you so much for being with us. We've got a lot of interesting news to talk about with you here on the show tonight. Lots of doozies. So we're going to get into all that and more as per usual for you here tonight on the Global Reality. We thank you for being with us. Ready for another week of shows here. Hope you had a nice weekend. Back to the whoosh, grind. Yes, indeed. All right. TheGlobalReality.com is my website. It's TheGlobalReality.com. Lots of good reviews. Thank you to everybody out there. Lots of good reviews already coming in for my latest audiobook reading, Our Story of Atlantis. If you haven't had a chance to check that out yet, don't listen to me. Really, I mean, not much usually said about the stuff I put out. You know, I don't really get a whole lot of feedback, but anytime I do get feedback, it's always good. It's always nice. So, but for this, there's a lot of people saying, you know, I've listened to all the audiobooks and this one's the best. And it's nice when people say that progressively after each one you do. So this is definitely one you want to check out. Atlantis, Our Story of Atlantis. This is internal secret society annals and documentation and whatnot on Atlantis. And there's just a lot of correlations to the Rockwell stuff in there. But yeah, it's mind-blowing. It's definitely worth checking out. It's only $10. Get yourself a download of that. Right there in the middle of my website, there's a big, bold, white letter. You can't miss it. It says download all the Law Secrets films and audiobooks here. Click that and it'll take you to our Payloads download store. We got lots of good stuff in there now. I'm going to keep adding as much stuff as we can to that. There's lots of good stuff in there to download and have to listen to and put on discs or, you know, put on flash drives even. And give it to people, you know, people that might want the information. Other people, you know, that might enjoy it. But there's lots of stuff up there, and that newest reading really coincides quite well with the last one that I did earlier this year. It's also for sale in the download shop. That is the Atlantis and the Giants. We also have, if you haven't heard that one too, they're $10 each, but we have a package deal up there. Will actually save you some cash. You can get it. Has 3 audiobooks, and I think it has something like 14 hours total. And you get Atlantis and the Giants, the newest reading, which is Our Story of Atlantis, and you get a free bonus reading of Atlantis, an interpretation by Manly P. Hall. So 3 different audiobooks there for only $10. We also have another new addition to the download shop as well. As many of you know, next month, the month of September, will be 8 years. Can you believe it? 8 years of broadcasting for us here at the Global Reality Show. And a guy who does a lot of our show archiving and does a lot of the uploading to his own fan page that he runs on YouTube for the Global Reality called TGRFP, the Global Reality Followers page. And he uploads and archives lots of shows and stuff there. Well, he basically took MP3s and show MP3s spanning all of my work, from the very beginning, from the first week of shows that I did, from the very first interview I ever did with Peter Dale Scott, where I found out about the Council for National Policy. I mean, where you hear me learn about it live on air, you know, and to hear that happen in 2007 and fast forward all the way to 2000, 2011. Actually, I guess 2011 was when I put out, right at the end of 2011, into 2012, was when I put out Secret Right Volume 2. So it's an interesting progression to hear. But anyway, he went through shows spanning 2007 to 2014. Didn't go into 2015 because obviously those are the newest shows in the archives. No need to go there. And he painstakingly collected through all this audio and cut out and just took the best bits and made this compilation for us in celebration of our 8 years of broadcasting next month. It's called The Global Reality of the First 7 Years, 2007 to 2014. It's 50 fucking hours. 17 MP3s totaling 50 hours. From the very first week of shows all the way through. You really get to hear my progression. You get to hear, my progression in presentation and knowledge. It just really is interesting to hear, just as almost just to listen to my progression, to hear it happen. That's what I thought was fascinating when I was kind of listening over it. Anyway, that's up for sale right now in our download shop, 50 hours total. If you have, since I've been doing this so long, a lot of these shows and a lot of stuff that's in this is not even available online anymore. A lot of this is really rare stuff and really good stuff and stuff that we don't want to get lost because, stuff happens. I've been on a lot of different networks, and a lot of those networks I was on had archives of mine of shows, and those networks go down, go defunct, and then the shows get lost, and there's all this great information, all these great shows. And I'm not somebody that really likes to go back, and I don't really like having to go back and go over too much stuff that I feel like I've already covered. So there's a lot of stuff in these shows that I get asked about a lot. People want to hear me talking about these specific things. I'm like, well, I have kind of already talked about that a lot in the past. So you can now hear really just the greatest hits. It's really a nice anthology. But 50 hours, I mean, it's insane. Over 2 days, 50 hours. But it's very comprehensive. There's lots of great material in there, lots of funny stuff, and lots of good information. Interviews, all kinds of stuff. And it's, if you live somewhere where there's where you have slow, like if you live in like fucking New Zealand or Australia or somewhere like that, where literally you have like what do you guys have, like 22K dial up or some shit? It's like ungodly fucking slow. Don't even bother trying to download some of my items, especially the bigger ones. This one is a compressed file. It's like 4 gigs, a little over 4 gigs. But, I mean, if you put that in 22K dial-up speed, you're looking at approximately 18 and a half years, somewhere in there, to download, literally. So, but it's really good. Anyway, go check out our Payloads download store. All of our stuff is in there. All my films are in there. Lost Secrets of Ancient America, Volume 1 and 2. The Secret Right, Volume 1 and 2. Digital HD masters of those. So there's all kinds of stuff in the download shop. So go check it out. And don't forget to get yourself a membership. If you haven't gotten a membership, we had a glitch, and there was a lot of people that need to renew. So if you haven't renewed your membership yet, please go to my website. And on the right-hand side of the page, there's a button that says subscribe. Click on that, and it will take you to the page that opens up where you can get your packages by the month, every 3 months, every 6 months, a year. Hell, even lifetime if you want to pony up the cash for that. And another way you can support our work, if you don't want to donate to our fundraising, which we're going to talk about our last month fundraiser in just a minute. But right now, I'm in the process of trying to finish my newest film, The Spellcasters. And if you haven't seen the trailers for those, there are trailers and little sneak previews up on my YouTube channel. Go check that out. There's also little snippets and trailer sneak previews of Our Story of Atlantis up there right now, as well as a sneak preview of the aforementioned 50-hour mega First 7 Years box set that is now for sale at my website. So, we are in need of certain pieces of equipment right now. We haven't had any real significant equipment upgrades in a few years, but now we're in need of some of those things because newer stuff has come out, and we need to be able to have our stuff looking and sounding as good as possible. Because if you don't, it's harder to get across to people. And this new film, The Spellcasters, is going to be a significant jump in production quality for my films, and you can tell that if you watch the sneak preview that's up there at my YouTube channel. But if you go to my website and you scroll down below where the monthly operating cost banner is, which you can throw shekels into, if you scroll down below that, there's a link to the Amazon.com wish list. And that has all kinds of gear on it that we need for filmmaking. Right now, we're in dire need of stuff to compose the soundtrack for the Spellcasters film. So there's synthesizers and various music equipment stuff we need up there. Computers, cameras, any of that stuff. You can go there, select it, buy it. It'll automatically send it to me. You don't have to do anything else. And if you're somebody who hasn't contributed and you didn't contribute to our work last month, and you're now in a position where you can contribute to something, and you don't want to do a cash donation, hey, get us something off of our Amazon wish list, and it would be much, much appreciated. And really significantly helps us out, because then when we do get in, some support for the work, we don't end up having to put what little we do get towards equipment upgrades and whatnot. So that's another way you can help the broadcast there. I'd like to announce our winner, and come to find out, our grand prize winner, which I'm about to announce, for our July 2015 operating cost fundraiser. And don't worry, I'm never going to, whatever you contribute, if you're somebody who contributes and we do these contests, don't worry, I'm never going to say your whole name. I'll say your first name. You'll know who you are because you'll get an email from me. But this guy will definitely know who he is, James. And James, actually, I was taking a look at my records. James is a special individual. And the reason James is a special individual is because James is our grand prize winner, not only for the month of July, but also for the month of June as well. Now, James did not get his prize pack sent to him last month because every single penny that we got in last month went to pay for the operating costs. So we didn't have enough left over to do anything else, and I have not had the money to even pay for postage to send out the prize packs to people from last month. So last month, people, you will definitely be getting your prize packs very soon. Hopefully some more people will buy some downloads from us, and I'll be able to get those out sometime this week. But James, buddy, old pal, congratulations, my friend. You are our grand prize winner for June and July. So you have got a super prize pack coming your way. Thank you very much to everybody who did contribute, even if you only contributed, not enough to get you in the running or whatever. Even if it was $5, $10, $20. Thank you to every single one of you. You're all winners in my book. And we'll have two runners up as well. And the two runners up will be receiving a 1-year subscription to the 128K archives and a download of their choice from the download shop. So, James, send me an email, buddy. I know you sent me one before that had your mailing address in it. Go ahead and send me your mailing address again, just to verify. And you know who you are with all your threes there, James. And go ahead and designate in there for me, James, what 2 downloads you would like from the download shop, and I'll get those sent over to you. And then I hopefully should be able to get the prize packs out later in the week, this week for you. So we will be having another contest again this month, and it will be quite a good prize pack yet again. We're going to change them. Every one of these is going to be unique. Every one of them will be different. Some of them may have, one similar item to them, but they're all going to have different stuff. So even if you're somebody like James, if you win multiple months in a row, you're going to get something unique every time. That's how we're going to do this. So please go there to my website and contribute to our work, folks. We were able to cover the operating costs thanks to folks like James and others out there. Jason as well. Jason's been a long time listener and supporter. Thank you to Jason as well. Jason got a second place prize pack from us. So thanks to everybody, and we were able to get everything covered for the month. But again, that still leaves us light around this time of the month. So go there and get a membership, get some downloads, do the thing, man. Help us out. And then we can get the prize packs and all that stuff mailed out to everybody else as well. All right. Let's see what kind of stuff we got to get into here tonight. I think we got some wild stuff. Why the Vatican doesn't think we'll ever meet an alien Jesus? Well, I can answer that question without even having to read the article, if you like. Why the Vatican doesn't think we'll ever meet an alien Jesus? Because if we did, the Vatican would cover it the fuck up. There's your answer to that question. Next. I mean, come on. If I'm wrong, then show us what you have in the belly of the Vatican beast, where supposedly they have, alien carcasses found all over the planet stashed and God knows what else. Scientists are closer than ever to finding out the truth about life beyond Earth. Just last month, NASA excitedly discussed the potential of one exoplanet, Kepler 452b, that appears to be the most Earth-like planet ever confirmed outside of the solar system. The Vatican is also excited about the prospect of finding alien life, but it has a few things to say on the subject first. The Vatican's robust astronomy program, run by an Argentinian Jesuit named Father Jose Gabriel Funes, is part of that search. It's always the Jesuits are the intellectual end of it. This is why I've told people this before. They act like they don't believe me. It was like especially people who are into science, they don't even know this. Because they're always like, trying to add fuel to the fire of science versus religion and all that. When, it's this phony dialectic. But anyway, I've told people that before. You know who owns the biggest telescope in the world, right? You know who owns the biggest, who employs the top astronomers in the world? The Vatican. No, yes. Look it up. And then wonder why you didn't hear Bill Nye the Science Guy, Neil deGrasse Tyson, or any of these other shill fucking gatekeeping cocksuckers talk about that. So yeah, I don't really even need to go any further with that. Vatican doesn't think we'll ever see an alien Jesus, right? They're doing whatever they can to make sure we don't. That's what people don't get. You think it's in their best interest? You think they want there to be proof of their religion? No. That's why these people want all these artifacts and whatnot around the world destroyed or put up. A lot of the artifacts, there were tons of the artifacts that were looted in the invasion of Iraq in 2003 from the Iraq National Museum. And there's actual news reports where they openly say that many of these artifacts were found by the side of the road in a ditch near an Air Force base in North Carolina. But yet, on top of that, they also say that many of these artifacts showed up in Rome at the Vatican. That's what I deemed many years ago the Crusades 2.0 is all about. Hide these relics of the ancient past so that now us in the modern day, since we have more of a context for what technology is. See, that's why when we looked 50 years ago, 60 years ago at many of these ancient depictions, we didn't know what the hell they were talking about. We didn't know what the hell this stuff was. See, now that we've progressed, now that we've gained technology, now that we've cracked the genome, now that we have access to the DNA technology, as soon as that started to happen, all these ancient artifacts and these depictions became very dangerous to the powers that be. So they've had to initiate a cover-up on this stuff. And again, it's no secret, no coincidence that these artifacts have showed up in places like the Vatican for a reason. Archaeologists discover humongous gate in Goliath's hometown. Archaeologists at Israel's Bar Ilan University announced on Monday the discovery of a massive gate and other fortifications in the ruins of Gath, the hometown of the Bible's Goliath. The ancient gate is one of the largest ever discovered in Israel and evidence of the Philistine city's power in the 10th and 9th centuries BC. Well, it's hello. I mean, it's giant because the Philistines were giants. It even made a brief appearance in the Bible when David, Goliath's slayer and future king of Israel, acted like a madman, making marks on the doors of the gate and letting saliva run down his beard. The research team also discovered an impressive fortification wall, a temple, a smelting complex. Oh, a smelting complex, huh? Giants smelting metals, huh? That far back. If you've seen my Lost Secrets film, specifically Volume 1, you'll know that, again, this is further evidence of what we've already put together. It's funny that they keep finding this evidence, and science doesn't want it, religion doesn't want it, nobody wants it, because it doesn't do either one of them any good. What does them good is keeping people locked in the same old paradigm of belief, the status quo being kept intact. That's why they don't want the truth of this stuff to come out. You would think that religion would be all about relics and actual proof that proves their stories are not made up stories, but are actually based on actual events that happen, but they've been embellished and changed around, and the meanings have been lost because the facts have been left out, edited. Religion doesn't want that because it doesn't keep people. Anything that serves to change the status quo in any way, good or bad, is certainly negative for them. Science, same way. You think science wants proof that brings their previously established scientific dogmas come crashing to the ground? No, absolutely not. So that's why we're at such a terrible point in our history for finding anything new, because they don't want new information at this point. You understand, the status quo likes the powers to be love the status quo the way it is. They want the story that they've established for you officially up to this point pertaining to man, how long we've been here, our history. They want the way it is now to pretty much remain the status quo. They're not interested in new information. They're not interested in information that may contradict or, in fact, crush their previously held established narratives. So that's why people doing what I do, and there aren't very many of us, who are trying to uncover these hidden places around the planet, especially like the rock wall, and there's many others. That's just the tip of the proverbial iceberg, folks. If I had money, I'd be able to show you some of these things I've found. Stuff like, there's another wall exactly like the rock wall down where near two more actually, right near where I found the quarry for the rock wall, within miles of there. There are two more rock walls that almost look identical. One is 20 miles in diameter. What it was described in a New York Times article, like 1920s, 1930s, there's one article ever put out about this thing. And It was described as being thicker than the Great Wall of China. But there's all kinds of stuff like that. There's stuff I can't even talk about till I'm able to put it in a film down the road. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff hidden in the United States that a lot of people haven't even gotten around to even knowing is there yet. But we'll bring it out eventually. Feds charge 3 men accused of prepping for martial law. Well, there it is. This is, congratulations. If you want to see what the work of Alex Jones has done, that's it right there in a nutshell. That's been their goal. That's what he's been, the mouthpiece and the person that's been assigned to do that job is to see the people who plan to install a new form of government in this country want to, what they're trying to do is they're trying to create situations that bring all the gun owners out of the woodworks in one fell swoop. That's why they're trying to create all this and scaremonger this, Civil War, armed conflict BS. God, I've been beating this dead horse for almost 10 years. I'm so sick of doing it, but I gotta keep talking about it because it's happening now. When I first started talking about it, it was far off, distant gleam in the future and something we hoped wouldn't happen, but something I always knew would happen, and now it's happening. And it's the same old fucking people up to the same old tricks I've been telling you about for years. Alex Jones and the rest of his cadre of these people trying to instigate this because the government wants to create a situation that causes gun owners to be up in arms in one-armed conflict so they can swoop in, declare martial law and set up the FEMA camp. So that's what Jones, all this stuff Jones has been warning you about has been it's been his job to make sure you get there if you listen to him. That's the whole deal. They want to identify those people first, get them out of the way. Those will be the problem people. Once the problem people are taken care of and done away with, and they don't feel there's a population threat of gun owners anymore, new form of government gets established, martial law goes away, and congratulations, you now live in a country, probably a military dictatorship. This is what their plan is. This is what they want to do. The people who are fanning the flames of this, who are acting like they are the heroes and they are the people standing up for America and standing up to defend her against enemies foreign and domestic, are actually the ones that are leading people to their deaths and are going to lead people to their deaths. And this, apparently by this is the start of it. This is what they want to do. This is why they want to get people scared, acting on fear, because when you act on fear, you don't act or think rationally, and that is what they are planning on. They are planning on you freaking out, not thinking rationally, listening to and drinking the fear sauce and the Jonestown Kool-Aid and getting worked up in a froth. Look, man, I can talk about this because let me tell you something. I used to be one of those people. I was a Jones fan. Don't get me, hell yeah, I was. Till I saw him look through me like a demon and huff and puff. And that was before I even found anything. A year later, I started doing a radio show. Boom, I start finding out about the Council for National Policy, the CMP, and I start going, wait a second, how come like 12 or 13 of these people that are fucking members of this thing that we know of, those are just the ones we know of, there are many people we don't know who are members of this group. Why is this like 75% of Alex Jones guests or were at that time? 2007 when I first started. That was the first red flag for me. And then, of course, started finding connections to Ron Paul and, the whole rest of the deal. All the conspiracy people and Larry Pratt and all of that stuff, the Contra stuff, Cassioggi, the connection with that stuff. It's all detailed in my Secret Right Volume 1 and 2 films. But this is it. 3 North Carolina men fearing a government takeover and martial law stockpiled weapons, ammunition, and tactical gear. while attempting to rig homemade explosives, according to charges announced by the Justice Department on Monday. This is from the Associated Press, by the way. The men from Gaston County near Charlotte were arrested by federal authorities on Saturday after more than a month's investigation. Now, here's the thing. You know, the people who are doing this, folks, they're not idiots. They're not stupid. They're well-meaning people, but they've been lied to. They've been brainwashed. They have been, through the use of trauma-based mind control. It's a form of trauma-based mind control. It goes back to the MK Ultra, goes back to the mind war stuff. You know, that Paul Vallely, who Alex Jones has had on his show before, it goes back to that. Mind war, where the term info war actually came from. Isn't that fascinating? Two of Jones's titles, or two of his websites, come directly from mind control related sources. I find that fascinating and hard to argue away as mere coincidence. InfoWars. It's found in the Paul Vallely and what was that? What's that creepy guy's name? He's in Secret Right too. I'll think of it in a minute. He co-authored that, and it talks about, you know, whipping the citizens up into a frenzy and telling that the citizens that there is an external threat that threatens their livelihood, that threatens their freedom, and that we have to get the people united against this external threat that we create so that we can then, in that ensuing chaos, come in and take over completely. Look them up, man. You can look up the Mind War documents. They talk about that in there explicitly. Well, it's Paul Vallely and that guy Michael Aquino. They you know, Paul Vallely's the senior editor at Fox News. Jones is a Fox employee. His Sunday KLBJ show is owned by Fox. He gets a paycheck from them. Senior military analyst, Fox News. He's been on Alex Jones' show before. Right there, they talk about information warfare, the info war. Again, tricking the public into believing there's this outside threat, and this is all in stuff that's, you know, psychological operations warfare manuals. Real shit. And then if you look at L. Ron Hubbard's original OT levels, which are the upper levels of Scientology you go through, what they call OT levels, because that means operating Thetan levels. This is where you've gotten to the point where they start to make the Thetan in your body, which are these spirits supposedly. It's basically like demonic possession. They use these they're basically, the higher you go up these, the higher they've got you. And that story I told about Jones and seeing that's what I know now I was seeing. But in 2006, when I was a fan of his, I didn't know anything about Scientology. I didn't know what I was seeing. I mean, I'm standing there. Imagine, I was a huge fan of Alex Jones. I go to his movie premiere at Lakewood Theater in Dallas. Jim Mars was there with him, another person I've connected to Scientology. I'm standing at the bar waiting to get a drink, you know. I was all happy. Oh, you know, Jones gave this speech and everything. I was all into it. I'm standing there. I look over, and there's this little, it's an old, you know, used to be a movie theater. I remember going there when I was a kid with my dad, but now it's, you know, they converted. They have concerts and, you know, different events. I had my film debut there in 2007 as well. But at the little old ticket booth, there's Jones. I look over, and Jones is sitting there, and he's looking dead at me. And I'm like, what the fuck? I'm looking around myself. Is he looking at somebody else? And I keep looking around. There's nobody else around me. I look back over him. He's looking at me, teeth gritted together, eyes bugging out, looking at me, going, growling at me, looking through me. It felt like a demon. And you got to understand, folks, at this point, I was the biggest Alex Jones fan. I loved the guy. I thought he could do no wrong. And I was trying to ignore him. After a minute, I'm standing there, and I'm looking, and I'm looking around, and I look over, and I'm like, oh my God, what the fuck is going on? This can't be happening. I'm trying to, like, you know, maybe he'll stop here in a minute. I mean, I'm like 5 or 6 back, and like, how no one else in front of me is seeing this go on. That's what I was struck by. How no one else saw him doing this. There's like 6 other people standing in front of me in line waiting to get a beer. And I had seen him earlier. I went out to smoke a cigarette, and he was coming out like right as I was going back in to smoke a cigarette, from smoking a cigarette. And I hear him going out, and he's like waddling out. Hey guys, who's got a cigarette for me out here? Yeah, I try to quit, but goddamn, it's tough. And he seemed normal then, but then this was probably about 10 minutes after that when I was getting the drink. And he's just sitting the whole time, man. He's looking at me like, and it freaked me the fuck out. I like got my drink and like went outside of the patio and was like, dude. And I remember going home, and it kind of ruined my night. I just remember like feeling like I had the air had been let out of my balloon. It was just made my whole body, my whole self feel just weird. Like, like, oh, what was that? And I kind of didn't think about it for a while. And lo and behold, like a year later, he had a 9/11 Truth contest, and I entered it, and I won first place. I won $1,000. I got to cash a check with the fat fuck signature on it. Can you believe that? Nothing was sweeter. I mean, really, Jones funded my first film. If you really want to look at it, really, he did. I used his money to make my first film, which launched my filmmaking career. I mean, now I'd already put a lot of my own money into it, but I mean, that was really what got us over the hump and got that film to come out when it did. And like literally within a week or 2 weeks after releasing that film and having the premiere at the same place where this incident happened with Jones a year earlier, boom, there I am. I had a friend some friends I had met. One of these guys who was running this network, actually, I had met the year before at the Jones thing. Coincidentally enough, he was there. And he had a radio network, and there was a guy who's no longer with us who was on his radio network at the time, and he went to New York for the 9/11 stuff that they had, and he asked me to fill in for him for a few days while he was out of town. So I said, yeah, I'll fill in for you. And the first night, straight out of the gates, the first night I ever been on radio. I had never even done anything on radio before this. Straight out of the gates, I had Freeman as the guest because I met him again the year before that. I'd been talking to him online for a few years, but we'd never met in person. And then that year before, at that same Alex Jones thing, Freeman was there. So I met him and hung out with him at that event. And then here I am a year later, starting my own show. Hey, I actually wasn't even starting my own show yet. I was hosting a show, and he came on and was my guest for an hour. And so not too long after that, the network had a open slot, and they asked me if I wanted to come on, and I did it. And I did a couple of days worth of shows, and I was like, for some reason, I've decided I want to have a guest. No, there was one day I was about to do a show. It was a Thursday, I believe, and I got an email because at that event that I had where I showed my film, I had contacted Peter Dale Scott because I was going to get him to come out and speak, and he had something else going on. And he couldn't do it, and he sent me a message and said, well, hey, I'm available now, so if you still want me to come out to your event, I can come out. And I said, oh, well, unfortunately, we had that 2 weeks ago, and you couldn't make it, and, we're not having it again. That's it. But I just started a radio show this week, and I really need a guest. Do you want to come on? And he said, absolutely, which I couldn't believe. And so right out of the gates, first week I was doing shows, I had Peter Dale Scott. That was pretty huge. And you can hear that show in that new 50-hour mega pack thing we've got out. And that's when, we started talking about the Bilderberg Group and Council on Foreign Relations. And he was like, well, actually, those groups are really not as powerful as they used to be. Here's what you need to look into: CMP, Council for National Policy. And off to the races I went. But as I mentioned, what led me into this story was Jones and his just stuff. Because, I could never figure out what that was. And now I know 100% what that was. That was the Phaeton, the operating Phaeton. Jones has obviously been through, he's been through, I don't know how much. He's been through probably a great deal of the OT levels of Scientology. That's absolutely what that was. There's no question about it. Because it's a form of demonic possession when you get to certain levels. But I'll put it to you this way. We know for pretty much an absolute fact that he was at least an OT level 3, and you can look all that stuff up, the different levels on your own. We know he was at least an OT level 3 by the time he created his Prison Planet website, which has been around for, 15, 16 years, maybe longer. We know he was at least an OT level 3. Now, how do we know that? Because that is when OT level 3, in the documentation for OT level 3 of Scientology, which was originally written by, of course, L. Ron Hubbard. This is when L. Ron Hubbard first coins, and he is credited officially with coining this term. I did my research and did my homework and found out for a fact he is credited with terming this term. It's not a coincidence. In OT level 3 is when you find out, and you hear his first description and use of the word Prison Planet. Now, if you look at those operating Thetan levels, the OT levels of Scientology that I'm discussing, and then you compare them with the MK Ultra documentation, the levels of in the MK Ultra, they're almost the same. It's like almost a word for word verbatim copy. Even some of the jargon and a lot of the wording is exactly the same. Because L. Ron was there in the OSS before the CIA formed, when they were in the early stages of working on the MK Ultra program. That's why he was sent to England to infiltrate the OTO and Crowley organizations and whatnot and get to know Crowley so he could learn their techniques and their black magic techniques that they used for doing different rituals, like the Babylon working ritual that L. Ron Hubbard conducted with Jack Parsons. And, L. Ron didn't believe in any of it. But when he went over there officially for the OSS and found out this stuff and learned how to use it and whatnot, he realized, wait a second, I can combine this with my science fiction writing. And so part of it would be science fiction, part of it would be this, basically black magic. You could have a very effective tool. And so that's, in a nutshell, folks, why you know beyond any shadow of a doubt that Alex Jones is absolutely connected to trauma-based mind control, which is one of the major tenets of psychological warfare and this MK Ultra mind control techniques, and specifically these psychological operations, which ties right into MK Ultra, and of course, two of his websites coming from mind control related sources. We're just supposed to think that's a coincidence. Oh, it's a coincidence that InfoWars came direct from the military psychological operations manuals that Paul Vallely and crazy what's his fucking nuts came up with. It's just insane. And then, operating Thetan level 3 in Scientology. Well, L. Ron coins the term Prison Planet. Oh no, it's a coincidence. That's a coincidence. Yeah, that's all just a coincidence. He is working directly on behalf of the intelligence community to psychologically traumatize gun owners and people who are good, well-meaning people who aren't dumb. They're just falling for his propaganda because it's slick, it seems real, it's believable. He's good at what he does. He is an excellent manipulator. He is an excellent person who can really he uses. That's what the operating Thetan level does. When you watch Jones, that's what you see. When they talk about when Scientologists talk about an operating Thetan, Jones is an operating Thetan incarnate. That's why you see him do the things like, you go watch Secret Rite Volume 2 and watch that montage that I put together. I don't even think I truly got why that montage was important when I made it. But I do now. I absolutely do now. Because that compilation in there is the operating Thetan at work. It's like a demon. and they can control it and program it to do what they want it to do within basically the framework of the body of whoever they've taken through the levels of OT in Scientology. I mean, we are down the rabbit hole here, folks. And you best get with the program, otherwise you're going to get swept along in the wave. And I will be detailing all of this in more in the Spellcasters. I mean, I wasn't expecting when I, was making a film about Hollywood and Scientology that I'd be thrust back into exposing this level of it and how it ties in with what we're talking about here, getting well-meaning people to buy into prepping for martial law so that the government then comes in, takes all their shit, and takes them to prison. Because that's his job, that's his goal. His job is to ensure that the new form of government that's going to be controlled by his CMP cronies and the rest of these clowns comes in, and they do it by getting well-meaning people who don't know any better and who think they're doing the right thing to fall for this mind control crap. And I'm sick of it, and I'm sick of sitting around and not talking about it when everybody needs to be paying attention to this. I've made films about it. I've been yelling about it for 8 years. I'm sick of yelling about it, but God damn it, you need to pay attention. I've studied this, folks. I study my stuff to the point where I try to find ways that don't prove what I'm trying to say. And it again, with this jonesing the CMP thing, I was first to the fucking forefront of this. Boy, it was tough. It's a lot easier now. A lot people are not only receptive to it, but they've done their own research on it at this point, so they get it and they know it's real. But it was not that way when I first started talking about this. Nobody wanted to hear it. I got laughed at. I got fired. And everything else, because that stuff was so dominant then nobody wanted to hear, if you said anything against the heroes of the truth movement, well, you were a shill or a fed or a spook or whatever else. And so they can just easily get somebody swept to the side by making false claims against them anytime they bring information to the table that not only exposes things they won't expose, but it in fact exposes the people who are claiming to be against the stuff. But that's it. That's in a nutshell. That's what I've been warning people about. That's what my work into the CMP and the secret rights stuff has been about. I've told you this was coming, but we can stop it. And again, my films and my work always seem to be this tapestry that kind of, weaves into each other. If you watch the end of The Secret Right Volume 2, I'm segueing out of The Secret Right Volume 2 right into The Lost Secrets of Ancient America Volume 1, because I mentioned the Rockwall and stuff at the very end of that film. Because I mentioned Congressman Ralph Hall, who's been one of the major players in keeping the Rockwall covered up, just happens to be associated with these same Secret Right CMP associated people. So, that's another thing people have to get out of their heads, the idea that any of this information, any of this stuff is separate. I get asked to do these events, and sometimes I do them, sometimes I don't. But I guess to do these events, and they're always paranormal fests, fright fest, spook fest, ghost fest. I did a steampunk thing last year. Jim Mars was there. I know. Can you imagine that? A steampunk event, and you have Josh Reeves and fucking Jim Mars there. What the fuck were they thinking? But anyway, it was cool. But anyway, my point is, there's no separation in this stuff. I mean, we delineate ourselves and we put ourselves into these boxes. Of course, the mainstream, and of course, the intelligentsia, and of course, the powers that be do it as well. But we do it to ourselves. But you need to understand, when you're trying to grasp all of this information, that trying to put UFOs over here and information about banksters and whatnot over here, and information about Nessie and all that stuff over here, and information about secret societies over here, and information about ancient civilizations and stuff like I talk about over here, and 9/11 over here on its own, and Freemasons over here, and Illuminati. No, all of this stuff pertains. All of it does. And I only know that to be true because again, every time I'm doing the intense research it requires to do these films, because these films are not made from whatever my current knowledge base is. They're never made from that. They're made whenever I go into production on these films, the research effort starts there. It doesn't matter what I've known already, or what I may already have known, and what I've found on my own about those subjects. That plays in, of course. That helps me remember what I need to put in content-wise. But when I start a film, it's like, okay, this is it. This is the subject we're on. We're on this right now. So all my energy and all my focus goes into that particular subject matter. And it's just, I've been finding one thing after the other. So bear in mind, if you're somebody who's a fan and you think you've just been a fan, well, I'm just a fan of the Lost. There's some people, I have such a crazy mixed split audience, and I love every single one of you crazy fuckers. Every one of you, I love you all. But it's great because I have such a weird split audience. I have this audience that, one end of this audience, all they want is all they want is me to just fucking talk about shit about Alex Jones 24/7 and talk about the CMP stuff. You got one crowd that just wants that all the time. They don't really want any other stuff. And that's, that's fine, whatever. But you got to understand, I'm not a one-trick pony, and I never will be, and never have been, and I'm not going to just focus on one subject ever. Because then you got the other people who, really only found me since like 2013. They probably heard me on a radio show, or maybe Coast to Coast AM or something, and so all they really know about me is, hey, Lost Secrets, Rockwall dude. They don't really know about the other stuff I've done. So when I talk about that stuff, they're not really as into that stuff because, that was there before they came around. And so that's not really something they're familiar with. But no matter what end of the information that you're into most that I talk about, what each and every one of you has to understand is that all of it pertains to the other. All of it has tentacles that connect. None of it is separate. So no matter what subject we choose to be talking about and putting our focus on it at whatever given particular time, it's still part and parcel of this whole wide scope picture of the control system and the lies and the cover-ups thereof, and exposing that whole thing piece by piece, dismantling that shark piece by piece, or the big whale, a bite at a time. And that's why I get on so many different subjects. So there may be some of you out there who have heard me talk about my newest project, the Spellcasters. And you're probably thinking, well, why is he going to talk about this, that, and the other? And, what does that have to do with these other stuff he's talking about? It has everything to do with all of it, because we're painting a picture and showing who's really been behind all of this mind control and all of this, the use of the media as a weapon against the citizens for total control, and showing how even, shows like HBO and people who are claiming to be exposing Scientology are never actually getting into the real stuff that would really shock people, and then showing that those connections to people, in the truth movement and the whole realm and scope of psychological warfare being used against the people to achieve the aims of the global power structure. So this Spellcasters film is much in line with everything I've ever done and everything out there is to talk about, folks. But like I said, I've been out of money to finish it, so maybe we'll get some cash in here and I can get that sucker hammered out. So maybe somebody will get us some new equipment as well. But the point is, don't discount this film if you think it doesn't fit in line with the rest of the stuff you like that I've done, because I assure you it does. And I only chose to make this film because it's an important aspect, and the stuff I've put together on it and the way I'm going to be presenting it is never been done before. So it may very well be my most important film yet. We'll see. All right, folks, we're going to leave it there tonight. I want to thank everybody for being here with us tonight. We will be back here tomorrow night for another show as well, folks. My name is Josh Reeves, and I love each and every one of you. TheGlobalReality.com is my website. We'll see you next time. Take care.